Hello, friends and artists. Mrs. Gordon here. Welcome back to art class, third grade, friends. Today we are continuing our project where we are learning about lines and shapes using the fabulous folk art from Miss Heather Galler. So we're going to analyze line and shape today, and we're going to draw a folk art inspired landscape. And then you're going to think, reflect, and record. So this is just your introduction video. After you're done with this video, you will go to the slideshow, go through the slideshow, go through the videos in the slideshow, think a little bit more about the art that you want to make, look a little bit more closely at Miss Heather Galler's art, and then you will click either in the slideshow or back in Schoology to record your answers in the Google format for what you have thought about and reflected on this week. You will need a pencil this week. You will need a piece of you will need a piece of paper, not your art from last week, because your art from last week isn't in here. So you will need like a big piece of construction paper, or if you like a piece of white paper, or if you don't have that, you can cut up a paper bag and use a paper bag for your art. And yeah, so remember, there are 7 elements of art, and the artists use these elements to make art: line, shape, form, space, color, value, texture. And we're focusing on line and shape this week, and we learned a little bit about, or reviewed a little bit about, line last week. And in shape, we're talking about mostly geometric and organic shapes. Geometric shapes are shapes that we know the names of, like circles, squares, and rectangles. Organic shapes are shapes that are found in nature. For our folk art landscapes, we're going to be really focusing on geometric shapes. So even though a tree might be more of an organic shape, we're going to simplify that to an oval or a triangle, because that's how folk art is classified, when they simplify those shapes and make them really simple and bold with color and pattern. So when you get to this slide, you can review what you know about line and shape if you want to watch those videos. If you feel solid on it, you can skip it. Remember, we're learning about Miss Heather Galler. She's a contemporary artist. That means she's living and making art right now. She lives in Rochester, New York, and she is well known for her folk art landscapes. And folk art is a style of art that typically has decorative designs and bold colors and simplified shapes. You can watch this video for inspiration on how you want to make your own art today. A couple of key things you want to look for is the horizon line. Here she's got a wavy horizon line. You want to look for the lines that define the land. So you see kind of here that she's drawn she's got fields down here, and she drew some vertical and diagonal lines down, connected from her horizon line to the edge of her paper. And that she's adding geometric shapes on the horizon, like ovals and rectangles for trees, squares and triangles, and parallelograms for houses. Okay, right here we can see more. So again, you want to be focusing on, finding the horizon line where the sky meets the ground, right here. And then look at the lines that she drew from the horizon line down to the bottom of the paper. And look at the geometric shapes that she built on top of the horizon line. Semicircle for the sun, circle ovals and rectangles for trees, pentagons or squares and triangles for homes and buildings. When you are ready to draw, make sure you get yourself a nice big piece of cut up paper and a marker and a pencil. And then you're going to watch this video where I'm going to take you through how to make like a landscape and how to also make a beachscape and how to do that. If neither of those are your jam, you can go on to the next couple of slides where, like here, I show you a landscape. And again, it's the same steps, and I'm going to go over that in the video. Here I show you a cityscape and a beachscape and a folk art farm landscape. You do not have to make your art look like my art. Your art needs to look like your art, as long as you are following those steps: folding your paper, making a horizon line, adding lines below the horizon line that are anchored, that means connected on both ends, to describe your landscape, and adding geometric shapes to the top of the horizon line, anchored to the horizon line. You will be in good shape. Couple of Key things to remember: if you're using a pencil, remember not to draw anything real small, because when you use a marker, it all gets, squished and tight together because the marker line is much thicker. And don't add any more details to it. We're going to be doing that next week. And then keep your art in a safe place. Get it? For next week. Then you're going to, once you put your art away in a safe place, think about what elements of art did you learn about or use this week. What did you learn about the art of the artist? Remember to be specific. You can't just say I learned about folk art. You might say I learned that folk art uses, unusual colors and geometric shapes. That might be much better. And how did you make your art this week? So I'm going to change that from practice to make. How did you make your art this week? Did you draw? Did you paint? What did you draw? Maybe a landscape, maybe a beachscape. What did you draw it with? A pencil, a marker, a crayon? What did you use? Okay, click here to record your answers. Next week, we'll review what we learned this week, and we'll be learning about pattern. We will also add pattern to our folk art landscape and details to our folk art landscape inspired by Heather Galler. You will need your black marker or your crayon or crayons or colored pencils, something to add color, and your marker for next week. Remember, you can share it out with me if you want to. You can ask your parents for help with that. And I hope you guys have a great week. Happy art making, friends. Go ahead and click on the slides now to learn more about it.